Welcome to this explainer. In the daily rush, almost every single one of us interacts with that little metal box sitting quietly on the street corner. We're talking about the ATM. We totally take it for granted, right? You just pull out a piece of plastic, slide it in, punch some buttons, and bam, crisp cash in your hands. It feels completely ordinary. But if you actually look at it through the lens of science and engineering, this machine is honestly one of the most incredible inventions in human history. Today, we're going to unpack the whole shebang, the hidden physics, the unbreakable computer networks, and the wild history behind how this machine knows exactly who you are out of billions of people and guarantees it never ever miscounts your money.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to literally imagine the sheer frustration of banking just a few decades ago, before this machine even existed. Getting your own hard-earned money was just exhausting. If you needed cash, you had to stand in these agonizingly slow lines, whether it was freezing cold or blazing hot. You'd stand there sweating, clutching paper tokens and checkbooks, just waiting for a cashier to manually count every single note and check your signature. And the absolute ultimate nightmare? Needing emergency cash on a Friday evening or a Sunday afternoon. You could have thousands sitting in your account, but you were completely powerless and penniless because the bank was closed. It was a daily mental agony for people everywhere.
Well, the tipping point for this entire global revolution comes down to exactly 1 minute. It's 1965, and a British engineer named John Shepherd Barron is rushing to his bank on a scorching day for an urgent withdrawal. But he misses the banking hours by a mere 60 seconds. The doors are locked shut. His frustration, his anger, and that utter helplessness of not being able to access his own money actually sparked a revolutionary idea. He gets to work, and about 2 years later, in 1967, the world's very first successful ATM was installed outside a Barclays branch in London. People were stunned. It was basically a magical trunk on the street that completely freed humanity from the rigid hours of bank tellers.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer simplicity of his eureka moment. As Shepherd Barron stood there locked out of his bank, he started thinking about vending machines. He realized, hey, if machines can dispense chocolate bars and cold drinks just by taking a coin, there is absolutely no reason a machine couldn't dispense cash 24 hours a day. It was this exact analogy, totally fueled by his annoyance, that shifted the whole paradigm. But actually building this cash vending machine before modern computers and plastic cards even existed, that was a massive hurdle. So, since plastic cards weren't a thing in 1967, how did the first machine actually work? Well, it relied on a highly unusual method: paper checks coated with a mildly radioactive chemical. Seriously, the machine would physically read this chemical's signature and spit out the cash. But as you can guess, this presented a terrifying security risk. Anyone with a bit of chemistry knowledge could potentially forge it and rob the bank blind. The engineers quickly realized they needed a far more secure route, something that provided a unique, personal identifier for every single user. They needed a secret code.
And that need for a secret code birthed the PIN we all use today. But why is it exactly 4 digits? This is such a delightful piece of history. John originally intended for the secret password to be 6 digits long. However, when he pitched the idea to his wife, she told him point blank that 6 numbers were just too many to remember. Her brain, she said, could comfortably hold a maximum of 4 digits at a time. So, conceding to his wife's memory limits, John changed the global standard to 4. And to this day, the vast majority of ATMs worldwide still rely on that exact same 4-digit rule. And this brilliantly illustrates the evolution of ATM security over the years. By the late 1970s and 80s, computers became common, and that old radioactive paper was swapped out for the black magnetic stripe on plastic cards. But those mag stripes had a huge security hole. Hackers could easily copy the static data and drain accounts in seconds. This brings us to the modern era, the shiny EMV microchip. When you pop your card in today, that chip doesn't just send your name and account number. Instead, it generates a unique, highly encrypted digital code that's valid for literally 1 second. Even if a thief intercepts this signal out of thin air, it's totally useless, because the chip is going to demand a brand new code for the very next transaction. It's essentially an unbreakable digital wall.
So let's trace the anatomy of this digital journey, looking at exactly what happens in the microsecond after your card enters the machine. It is a stunning marriage of physics and computer science. First, the chip generates that one-time code. Then, you punch in your secret numbers. Next, the machine packages all this data and sends it hurtling across the globe. Finally, the bank's servers authenticate it and send a green light back. It feels instant to us, but the complexity hidden within these steps is staggering, especially when we look at how the machine handles the numbers you type.
The moment your fingers touch those stiff buttons to enter your PIN, you might think your password is just traveling through the wires as regular numbers. It's actually not. The keypad itself is a highly secure, isolated hardware chamber. The split second you hit those keys, the pad uses public key cryptography to instantly convert your PIN into an incredibly complex mathematical formula. So your PIN never travels as raw data. It travels as a cryptographic lock, and the absolute only entity in the world holding the key to decipher that specific lock is your bank's main server.
Once you hit OK, this encrypted formula embarks on an epic, invisible journey. The ATM connects to a highly secure, private internet network. Your signal shoots through local copper wires, dives into underground networks, and often travels through deep-sea fiber optic cables at the literal speed of light. You know, you could be standing at an ATM in one corner of the world while your bank account is in another. Yet this signal reaches your home bank's data center in a fraction of a second. Powerful servers verify your digital identity, check your balance, and fire back a digital yes to the ATM in thousandths of a second. Mind-blowing, right?
Let's move to and see how this builds into the physical world. The moment that digital green light arrives from the bank, the machine's most dynamic mechanical section springs to life, the cash dispenser. Down in the lower belly of the machine sit these heavy steel kits packed with thousands of perfectly arranged notes. Small rubber rollers begin to spin at incredibly high speeds, physically gripping and pulling the notes from the stacks one by one. But wait, how does it make sure it doesn't accidentally give you two notes stuck together?
Well, this is where high-tech optical physics takes over. As the notes fly through the dispenser path, they pass by incredibly sensitive infrared optical sensors. Every single currency note has a perfectly fixed, standardized thickness. The sensor beams infrared light at the note and measures exactly how much light passes through to the other side in mere microseconds. It's essentially an electronic eye analyzing the physical density of the paper at lightning speed.
If two notes happen to be stuck together, or even if a note is just folded, less light will pass through than the standard measurement allows. The instant this happens, the optical sensor rings an internal alarm. Instead of pushing that faulty or stuck wad of cash out to you, the machine instantly diverts it, dropping it straight into a hidden compartment called the reject bin. This flawless use of optical physics is the absolute guarantee that, even over millions of transactions, the ATM will never make so much as a single dollar counting mistake.
So, the crucial point is that while the digital and mechanical systems are brilliant, all of this cash is just sitting totally unattended on the street. To protect it, the ATM is quite literally an iron fortress. What looks like a simple plastic exterior actually hides a heavy vault made of 50mm solid steel and mixed concrete, designed to withstand actual bomb blasts. It's wired with internal thermal and vibration sensors. If anyone tries to cut it or smash it open, these sensors trigger an immediate live alert to the bank's headquarters. And get this, in many modern machines there are ink capsules rigged inside. If the vault is breached, they explode, permanently dyeing all the money and making it totally worthless anywhere in the country.
From a furious man locked out of his bank in 1965 to an unbreakable, optical-sensing, bomb-proof vault operating 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, the ATM truly changed the map of the world. It's a beautiful, heavy-duty balance of physics, computer science, and engineering that put the power of banking quite literally into the palm of our hands. But as we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with a fascinating thought for tomorrow. As we transition more and more to digital wallets, tap-to-pay, and mobile transfers, will our mobile phones eventually cause these incredible roadside cash machines to disappear entirely? Let that question sit with you next time you walk past one. Thanks for joining us.